He is a wine educator. He's a consultant. He's a wine guy. He's the go-to guy. He's Kurtis Kolt, and this is Tasting Room Radio. I'm Terrydavidmulligan. I haven't seen you in a while, and I wondered what the hair would be like. But the hair's pretty good. It's shorter, but you've changed the shape of that. Never mind. It's a visual thing, friends. He's got a beard. There's a beard there. How's life in the big city these days?
Life in the big city is good. People are still going out. They're dining. Some of them are even still drinking wine, which is good. It's keeping me in business. So yeah, no complaints.
Did you go see all the big shows in town?
I have, yeah, been out and about when not working, and of course, we have Vancouver International Wine Festival week is upon us, and so that's big as well. But yeah, no shortage of
I,
things to do around here. No
you know,
complaints.
I was thinking of Taylor Swift. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Never mind.
I went and saw all the activations around town. It was very much like the Olympics, with just the vibe out there, and just how
Yeah.
much just permeated downtown.
Yeah.
It brought back fond memories.
It's much like a Game 7 Stanley Cup final without the fights. As it turns out, our all of our winemakers and growers heading into Washington in particular were welcomed with open arms because Saint Saint Michel had decided to do their own vineyards and not buy their fruit, and so there were uh, a number of vineyards, great handful of vineyards that had a lot of fruit and lakes of wine ready to go. And it turned out that we were the perfect customer to come along and say, "Can we make some wines?"
Yeah, it's great. And, in so many ways, obviously we do have some geopolitical borders there, but from where, you're sitting on the island where I'm sitting in Vancouver, it's kind of just as local heading to those vineyards, down in Washington State as it is over to the Okanagan. And so, it was good that we were able to get that assistance without too much of, adding too much of a carbon footprint or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it gave local winemakers a chance to play around with some different fruit. It was a lot of headaches and stress getting here, but I noticed that when it got to be toward the end of vintage, when all this fruit was coming in from Oregon and Washington, the producers here, they were pretty excited,
They were
pretty
very
fun.
excited. Yeah.
It's you're a music guy. It's like, there's some incredible covers out there, and so the opportunity to take some fruit that has fascinated local wineries for a long time, and to do for them, to be able to do their own spin on them. It really is like that homage, like great covers can be.
Well, are there some? I mean, I can't wait for spring to show up. April 1st, as a matter of fact, April Fool's Day, when we'll start to see releases of the BC wines crafted by out of province fruit. There's going to be some incredible blends. Guys
Hmm.
never got a chance to blend certain varietals. They went and got them. Uh, Somebody on the Naramata bench, Terra Vista, I think it is, uh, they wanted to do one of their Spanish whites. And instead of just going and getting it, they got that same Spanish white from 3 or 4 or 5 different vineyards. And they're going to release them as a 5 pack or a 6 pack,
Yes.
so that you can compare. I mean, everybody's doing something different. I like the fact that there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's recovery somehow.
Yeah, you have some folks like our good pal Dave Patterson at Tantalus Vineyards up at East Kelowna Slopes. And, Dave is kind of continuing with the strong mandate of Riesling, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir that we all know and love Tantalus
Yep.
for. But he's pulling from a few places. I know he has some stellar fruit coming from Oregon, some Chardonnay. But he's actually pulling some Riesling from our good friends in Ontario, keeping things, Canadian. He has a good kinship with a lot of Riesling producers there. And so, he's working through, his own lens with those varieties that he does, best. And then on the other side of the coin, you have people like John Weber down at Orofino in the Similkameen Valley. And John has opted to go south and work with varieties, I believe, like Grenache and Marsanne and Roussanne and some Rhone varieties that he is not used to working with. And, he wanted to kind of differentiate from his regular regime of Chardonnay and Riesling and big cabs and all of that. And, for him, he was like, when do I get an opportunity to play around with these fun varieties? I'm gonna, strike while the iron's hot. And when I saw him as he was crafting some of these wines that are going to be coming quite soon, it was like a kid in a candy store being able to play around. So, when it comes to a time like this, it's really. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
Yeah, when it just comes to a time like this, it's there isn't going to be one bad Band-Aid solution that is one size fits all. Every winery has to do what they have to do to survive. What a 2,000 case winery needs is completely different from a 50,000 case winery. They all have different audiences and so on. And so, each winery is tackling this a little bit different. And I think that that's where it's going to be fun for us wine enthusiasts to see what they all got up to.
And Grant Stanley, who got really clobbered at Spearhead just after winning Winery of the Year across the country at Wine Line, and of course Best Small Winery, he had grown and worked with some of the best Pinot vineyards in the Willamette Valley, and that's exactly where he went, straight back to those vineyards. And so he's in good shape, and it's amazing that they win it all. They win the big Golden Globe, and then they get clobbered by Mother Nature.
Yeah, it's great. And the fruit that is coming up, I think that initially some people may think, and they would be wrong, but some people may think that, okay, well, we're going to get some fruit from Washington, from Oregon. So, they're going to give us their seconds, the leftover, the stuff that they don't want or can't use, but because there is a little bit of a glut right now, the AVAs that we're seeing this fruit come from, we're getting some of the best, some, phenomenal premium fruit from, Horse Heaven Hills and just, all over the place. And like you said, like in the Willamette and so on, it's really, great to see that, it's not just the bare minimum of wine that we're doing to get by. They're getting some premium, excellent fruit that's going to turn into some premium, excellent wine.
Do you get a sense, Kurtis, your little aerial is up, and I know your radar is going. Do you get a sense of how we'll respond? We, the customer, we, the wine fan?
It's interesting. I think, a lot of that is up to people like you and me with sharing the word of what this is. But, in reality, if we did not get this fruit, particularly from our colleagues and our neighbors down on the West Coast, we lost almost everything for the 2024 vintage because of that freeze. And if there's no wine to be made, there's no wine to sell. Wineries, wouldn't really have, a lot of them wouldn't be able to open their doors. And so that means no wine tourism. That means hotels suffer. That means restaurants suffer. That means people out of work. And so, this is way beyond just a bottle of wine in hand. And so as much as this fruit is coming from the US, these were purchased, and farmed last year. These are Biden grapes that we brought in. These are for sure that end. And this is the epitome of supporting local. These producers locally have already spent the money. They brought in the fruit. They put in the work, and now it's up for us to support them.
Hands across the border, Kurtis. Hands across the border. Even if
is that? On the Peace Arch, children of a common mother. We're all in this together, right?
It's all in this together. Tasting Room Radio. I'm Terrydavidmulligan. Kurtis Kolt is our guest here on this Tasting Room Radio. This is a story, by the way, and I think Kurtis, you'll agree. We'll be talking about the almost death knell of the Okanagan vineyards, and how they came back, how it responded, how we responded, the wines that showed up, because it's a fascinating story. The dynamics of it are amazing, and you're talking to Sip Magazine, or you're doing an article on Sip Magazine.
Mhm.
They're just as interested in Washington State to see what happens to their wines as well, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. These are their babies, fruit that they're used to, and so I think that they're going to be really interested in seeing the spin that some of our best and brightest wineries put on them, and also, frankly, that's where a lot of our tourism dollars in British Columbia come from, and in Alberta, people from the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. coming through, and so they're going to be the ones supporting our local wineries, supporting our local tourism industry. And so, just as important to get them on board to, keep the machine running up here.
I'm glad you're doing that webinar. That's a good thing of getting everybody together and talking the same talk, because everybody has a different version of how to interpret
Sure.
these, right? So it's time to get it focused. That's good. And you mentioned Alberta, and I broadcast once a week for the last 29 years in Alberta, and I talk to the wine fans write me all the time. How's it? How do you think we've solved the by border problem, and our wines are getting in there?
Well, it appears that it's a funny way of coming that way, but we seem to be more unified as a country than ever these days, and the things that come out of it are. Some of the things that come out of it are quite positive, and so it seems that we are looking at those borders opening up and us being able to ship wine back and forth a little bit more broadly across Canada, and to support Canadians. So, hopefully things up here will continue in this direction, regardless of other things that we don't have as much control over.
I've stopped hoping that trade barriers would fall in my lifetime.
We might just sneak it in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Very excited.
um, Top Drop 2025, Vancouver main event Tuesday, May the 13th, and Top Drop Calgary main event Thursday, May the 15th. It's your usual locations, or do you change location in Calgary?
We changed. We're at venue 308 now in Calgary, but right downtown. Very excited. It's interesting with so much going on in the world with the economy. We didn't know where things would be at with the Top Drop this year. Exactly it would look like. The benefit of us being a little bit of a smaller, hands-on, intimate wine fair, working with smaller kind of terroir-driven wineries from all around the world, is that these are people that really want their stories told, need their stories told, and we are a platform where they feel that they can have a great, savvy, engaged audience,
Yes,
and
yes.
come here, and they see that that support. And we're also not this, massive global entity either that, that prices a lot of these small wineries out from, participation. So we are quite encouraged by, the amount of wineries that we have from, we got the big ones, region wise. We have Barolo, we have Rioja, we have Champagne. Down in Chile, we have Austrian wineries. We get, a little funky. We got the Jura in France, and so it really is a global snapshot of what's happening in the wine world right now, and it's just always a good time to get together and sip and share a little cheer.
Dunham,
Mm-hmm.
Dunham, the Dunham.
Yes.
I've heard about them. I've never tasted the wines. I mean, Russian River, of course. I'm looking at your lineup, and it's fantastic. A surprise, and you include there's room for BC wines.
Yes, of course, always.
I see Gramercy in Washington State. I'm dying to try that. Joie is in there. I like the fact that Lightfoot and Wolfville are back.
Yes, Lightfoot and Wolfville from the East Coast, from Nova Scotia. They are making the trip over. We are quite excited to have them, with champagne and elsewhere. There's going to be a lot of bubble going on. There's going to be a lot of Chardonnay, and for them to step in with us is quite exciting. Locally also we're getting a little bougie. We have Martin's Lane Winery with those premium Rieslings and Pinot Noirs. We've got Phantom Creek. Of course, from the South Okanagan, and then as well, longtime top drop favorites like Tantalus, again from Kelowna. Some newer, very small projects like Apara Winery out of Okanagan Falls. So a little something for everyone.
Lightning Rock right up against Marchese di Barolo.
Why not, right? You get a little bubble, a little fizz, little refreshing Chardonnays, and then you get into some, good, big, bold Nebbiolo there. Marchese di Barolo have been in Top Drop a couple of times in past years. They love coming to Calgary and to Vancouver, and we're just so excited to have them.
There's two coming. One IWA, is that sake?
It is sake. So yeah, a little sake on there for a little mix. We'll still have another couple of producers we'll throw on here. We're also very excited. Blind Enthusiasm Brewing Company out of Edmonton. They participated in Calgary last year, and they had such a blast. They asked if they can come in Vancouver. These craft beers will be new to a lot of people here, and then they're going to return in Calgary as well. So we're really excited to have them.
Tell me about St. Cat's.
St. Cat's. So Jordan and Tyler, they are the duo along with James from Pamplemousse Jus,
yes.
On the west side of Lake Okanagan. This is their premium Pinot Noir project, St. Cat's Vineyard, organic vineyard, old vines, gnarled. Well steeped. We didn't lose these vines in that big freeze in early 2024, but some fantastic premium Pinot Noir. And Jordan and Tyler, when they come here, Jordan, she's a phenomenal winemaker.
Yeah.
Whether it's bubble, whether it's Chardonnay, whether it's anything she wants to put her, but sparkling especially, which she will of course have on hand. She is definitely one of the biggest specialists locally. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
And the final two on the page, by the way, I'm going to put the link onto the Tasting Room Radio website so that people can go and see what your lineup is like. The last two, Whispering Horse from Chilliwack and A Sunday in August from Salt Spring Island.
Yeah, Whispering Horse, really exciting. I think that they're going to be new to a lot of people. They are a relatively new winery, but they're doing some fantastic work with some Blattner varieties, some hybrids that they are able to grow. It's all estate fruit. So they are not pulling fruit from the island or from the interior, from the Okanagan. It's all aromatic, fresh whites. They do a lot of sparkling. They are farming organically, which is no small feat in this rainy coastal climate, but really thoughtful, elegant wines. They are clean. They are fresh. Some would say they fall under the natural wine umbrella, which, I think, they're not adding anything. They're not taking anything away. But at the same time, like I said, very clean wines, very fresh. And then A Sunday in August, Mike is returning. He always has a lot of fun, some orange wine, some cheeky things. He's just a former musician as well. I don't know. Are you ever a former musician? Yeah, he's going to come and play, and he always has some, really kind of cheeky, fun wines, food-friendly, high-acid, very kind of charismatic styles.
And I think you got a Cowichan in there as well somewhere. Bluegrass.
We got a little bluegrass. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right. So this the dates again?
The dates are May 13 for Tuesday, May 13 for Vancouver, and Thursday, May 15 for Calgary. Yeah, we're going to be running around.
A question. You take many of the same vineyards and pours into Calgary from Vancouver. How different are their expectations or their taste buds or their favorites to Vancouver? Does geography play into that?
I think that geography can play into that. It's always interesting. It's never automatically what you think. Of course, a little bit more probably carnivorous habits in Alberta, a little bit more beef forward and all that. So you think, well, is it going to be all rich, rugged reds that they're into and everything? I don't think that you can paint it with that broad a brush. But it's very interesting. We have such a wide array of styles and wines that are going to be poured that the favorites can change. A lot of times I think that what we have as favorites in the room here in Vancouver, if we did the event again 2 weeks later, would those favorites change? The weather affects these things. What you have in mind, what you have a hankering for.
Also, but their patterns I've seen. I've had lots of conversations with Alberta listeners, and they big reds. I want big reds, red blends, Bordeaux blends, everything from not from here, from there.
Yes.
Slowly coming to realize that there's an entire wine industry next door to them, and many of them do. I mean, you see them driving into the Okanagan. I believe, and I believe that the a point of sale is going to happen at the winery doors again. I think people are coming back as long as we get some weather.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, hopefully, people book things far enough in advance and hold on to those reservations, and the weather, continues to be good. I think we've been through enough weather-wise the last few years. I think we're due for a little break this year.
I just wanted to know. I saw popped up on my screen this morning that somebody's done a study between New Zealand and Oregon, I think, and some smoke taint Oregon fruit was sent to New Zealand, and they studied it, blended it, studied it. They came back and said, "We like it. We'll buy it." They like smoke taint wine in New Zealand because they don't get it.
It's interesting. There's certainly been conversations and arguments of is that terroir? Does that affect it certainly is reflective of the year, and the odd time there will be a little glint, barely discernible. That is usually where people are okay with it. I think people are usually fine as long as it's not like put your nose in an ashtray or anything like that. But can that little bit of a glint can, often or has the capacity to give that same element as, a toasty oak barrel or something like that.
Here's my last thing, and I'm begging you. At the trade tasting next Thursday, if you see me with a microphone in my hand, I'll be sitting, and you're walking by. The only thing I'm going to ask is if I can get you to, if you don't run away, is 3 wines you want to recommend from the room. I realize that there's 3,000 wines in the room.
Of course, yes.
Right, just 3 off the top of your head, and I'll don't make me chase you with a microphone.
Easy. I'll know where to find you, and I will.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Kurtis Kolt. First of all, what's your website?
KurtisKolt.com, and for Top Drop for our events in Calgary and Vancouver, topdrop.ca.
Kurtis with a K, Kolt with a K. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.